there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. We are going to be using this stamp set today called the Happy Birthday stamp by BoBunny, and there are lots of really cool elements in here that you could use. Now I'm not going to be using the main Happy Birthday sentiment. I just thought I would show you a couple of other ways that we can go about using some of these little bits and pieces. So I'm taking the smaller banner here and just linking these up to create one long banner that will go right across. So this piece of paper that I'm stamping on is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and my card today is going to be a landscape card. Hence why I'm doing some of the stamping going this way. Now I wasn't sure here what I was doing or how many of these I would want. So I did stamp out a few extras, but for this card in particular, I just end up using that long one at the top that I stamped first. Then next up I have these presents. So there are 2 present stamps in the stamp set, and I have stamped some on some Gina masking paper and I've cut them out. They're really easy to cut out, and then I'm going to do a little bit of masking to create a whole border of gifts along the bottom of this page. So you can see that once I have stamped some of them, the ones that I want to be in the front, I pop a little mask over top, and I keep these masks, I just keep them on the back of the stamp set because with the Gina masking paper, the one thing that I love about it the absolute most is that it can handle so much ink, and that is so important that there is no bleed through, so I can use these time and time again. Once I have stamped that out and removed the masks, I am going to be fussy cutting some of these images today. So this is not tricky fussy cutting for me. It's a lot of little straight lines and just up, down, and it doesn't take that long at all. If you wanted to skip this step, then you could definitely stamp this straight onto your card front. However, I wanted to have this popped up and to be a real focal element to frame the sentiment that's going to go in the middle. So I chose to make this a whole long banner and to fussy cut it out. I am also going to fussy cut along the top of the presents, and I did want it again to frame my sentiment, which is going to go in the middle. So all I'm going to do, and the reason is that I stamped them off the bottom of my page, is that I want this to sit flush along the bottom of my card front as well. And I'm just leaving a really tiny little white border, and that makes it a little bit easier when I am fussy cutting. The next few cards that I have filmed are all kind of simple but fun cards. I really want to not make card making complicated. Don't get me wrong, I love going all in with a whole lot of techniques, but also it's really fun to dial it back a little bit and just have fun and see where it takes me. So I have created this stamp from some foam die cuts. And I've just paused the video here for 1 second to show you that there are 4 little snips on that piece of cardstock. I'll have a little bit closer look in a second, but this tells me exactly where the words are on the front so that I can line it up, because obviously I can't see through the piece of cardstock that I adhered the foam die cuts to. So I know that if I line up all of those snips directly in the middle of my card front, everything is going to be nice and even. Now I am going to add a little bit of extra washi tape just so that this is nice and secure down in my mini MISTI. And I have shown so many times in my previous videos about how I make foam stamps from my dies. So I didn't go ahead and show it in this video, but if you look back on some of my older videos, you will see I do it time and time again. It's a great way to stretch our supplies, which is definitely what we all want to do. I'm using this Momenta Ombre ink pad. I am really enjoying this ink pad at the moment. I've been using it a lot and thought that I would finally use it on camera because I love how it stamps out. And with just one inking, I get a really nice impression there. You can see the ink is a little bit wet because I think it's a pigment ink, so it just needs a little minute to dry. Now I was going to leave my presents black and white, however I wanted to add just a touch of colour so that it tied in with the blue sentiment. So I'm using some Tumbled Glass Distress Oxide ink. I happen to use it from the Reinker, but if you have the ink pads, just pop a little bit down on an acrylic block. And I'm just colouring a couple of little bits here and there on the presents. Now once I started with the Tumbled Glass, I did decide to come in with a slightly darker one. I think I used some Salty Ocean, And although I want to keep this card idea very simple, and I really like the black and white of the presents, I did feel like this stepped it up just a little bit. I'm not adding too much colour, just a really light wash, and I do need to remember that this isn't watercolour paper that I stamped it on as well, so I had that in the back of my mind. I'm just adding a little bit with a water brush, not too much at all. Then I'm going to move on to the banners, and I'm going to add a little bit of chipped sapphire oxide ink as well, which is just a dark blue. And again, I just go through and add a very, very light wash of some of the colour on about every second one of the banners. Now, you could definitely go all out and create a really nice colourful card using this exact same technique, or you could stamp the sentiment in the middle with just a black or a grey ink, and then you could make the presents and the banner really bright and colourful. That would be another cool option as well. I have popped some foam tape on the back of the presents, and they will go right down the bottom. As I said, it creates a nice kind of border with a little bit of dimension, and then same with the banner, that will go up the top. I have popped some little bits of foam tape on the back of pretty much every one of those little banner flags. And this just definitely elevates your card to the next level because it has that nice little bit of dimension right above the sentiment as well as below it. Now, there is obviously a few more things that I could do to this card, and I do like doing some little extra bits and pieces. I always say that no matter what your card is, the finishing touches are really important. So first of all, I do like the card as is, but what I'm going to do is add a little bit of shimmer pen. This one happens to be the scrapbook.com. There are lots of different brands out there. Nuvo have a great one, Wink of Stella have a good one, but this is the scrapbook.com clear glitter pen, and I'm going to pop that on. You can see that adds a nice little layer of shimmer. Then onto the banner flags, I'm going to add some Glossy Accents. Now, as I've said before, this goes on kind of foggy and a little bit cloudy, and then it will dry really nice and clear, and it creates some very shiny with a little bit of dimension to it. I'm also going to do a couple of the presents, 3 of them down the bottom, and I don't think I got any shots of this when it had all dried. I think actually someone came and took this out of my stash and gave it away, but that's okay. I didn't get a chance to film the very end of it, but I'm sure that you can imagine what it ends up looking like. And then I have some of these little clear droplets that I'm going to add here and there around the sides, just a few. I'm going to pop these on with some liquid glue, some Reinker Multi-Medium in the matte finish, and that way when I pop it on, it will kind of look a little bit cloudy underneath, but it will dry perfectly nice and clear, and you won't be able to see it at all. And then this is where I pretty much thought that I was finished, so I was kind of having a look at it and thinking that I really liked the little glossy accent bits and pieces that were shining through. And then when I was looking at this, I thought I just wanted to add one more little thing, and that is some highlights with a white gel pen. Any white gel pen that you have will work fine, but I'm going to add it to some of the letters, and that just gives them the extra little pop as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this card. I'm going to have a few more coming up that are kind of me remembering some really fun techniques, and that I don't have to make everything super complicated all the time. And I really enjoy both the kind of complicated cards and the more simple ones that I do like this. So thank you so much for joining me, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye!